Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to COMM Week 2021. I'm Dr. Blackwell here to kick off day 2 of COMM Week. As you know, we're virtual this year, and so all of our sessions are available at pvamutv.org/COMM Week. You can go back and view the sessions from yesterday if you would like. And today we've got 2 great sessions in store for you. This morning, our session is titled Run the World, Women in Media. This is part of our theme for this year, which is The World is Yours. And we've got three great panelists in store for you. We have Ms. Troy Washington from WRTV Indianapolis. We have Carla B. Farrell from the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and Dominique Dillon from Fox 13 Memphis. I won't go into their whole bios because I think they're going to talk a little bit about their background and what they do as part of the discussion. So instead, I'm going to turn things over here in just a second to our moderator for today. Our moderator is Olivia Lemon, who is a comm major and a senior here at PV. She also just so happened to make her, I think it's her national TV debut yesterday with the Wendy Williams show. So I think we're going to try to play that clip as well. But yeah, we're excited about what we have planned for today. And I'm going to step back and let Olivia take over.
Yes, so first I can bring up this clip. Thank you so much, Dr. Blackwell, for that wonderful introduction. I think I am one of Dr. Blackwell's favorite students. But here's the clip of my national TV debut. And we can try to play that.
Candy of the day. We love fashion here, and Olivia is going to show us what she's got. She's in Texas. Take a look.
Hey Wendy, how you doing? Thank you for making me your eye candy of the day. I am Olivia Lemon, the main squeeze, and when life gives you lemons, you have to make lemonade. I got this beautiful yellow top for only $17. These nice blue jean pants, $15, and this cheetah print fedora hat, $5. This is a plus size fashionista look for the springtime, and you better get into it. Thank you, Wendy. Miss you. Bye.
Thank you, Olivia. I like your outfit. I like that pop of color on the bag, too. Olivia, we're going to send you our special limited edition, how you doing, light up mask and a $100 gift card for Love Scene eyelashes. We'll be right back.
Yep, so that was it. Thank you so much, Dr. Blackwell, for turning everything over to me. First of all, I'm honored to be hosting this event. I'm super excited. I feel like this was the perfect event for me to host. And I'm just so excited. I know that we were supposed to do COMM Week, but we had the snowstorm, and the snowstorm got really crazy down here. So I'm just excited, and I'm glad that we were able to push through and that these panelists were able to, reset their schedules and come back and talk to us COMM major students. So we have great panelists. We have Miss Troy Washington.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to talk to you. We have Miss Carla.
Yes. Hey, how are you?
And last but not least, we have Miss Dominique.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. Okay, so Dr. Blackwell kind of explained, where you guys are and where you guys work and things like that. But of course, me being Olivia Lemon, the main squeeze, we're going to get into all of that. And we are going to talk about those backgrounds. And we're going to talk about what we're here for. Women in media, run the world. We know that women run the world, especially Black women. And you guys are 3 extraordinary Black women that have been in media and have so much experience. So I'm excited to talk to you guys and just excited to see, how could we learn from you guys? What is some great advice that you guys can give us, especially being PV alumni? Shout out to y'all. We're definitely going to talk about that. So just to start, I definitely want to hear, starting with you, Miss Carla, just something about your background, like how did you grow up and what kind of inspired you being a young girl, to be in media one day?
Okay. Thank you, Olivia. Good morning, Troy. Hey, Dominique. My sister's in media. I was born in Chicago and I was raised in Houston, Texas. Graduated from Willow Ridge High School and I attended Prairie A&M University. Graduated in 1990, long time ago. And yeah, long time ago in the yard. But I look fabulous, yes. But anyway, just basically, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was one of those students. I wasn't one of those students that just had it together when I got to Prairie A&M University. My mom, she really wanted me to go to an HBCU, and she told me if African Americans don't support and go to HBCUs, who will? So I took pride in attending Prairie View, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. My mom had a background in social work, so I majored in sociology when I first got to the yard, got on campus. And the dean in that department said, you're really not into this. This is not what you want to do. And I said, no, I don't know what I want to do. He asked me, what do you like? And I said, I like music. What else do you like? I like to talk. Go to the communications building. So I went to the communications building and learned so many. At that time, you can major in media, television, and print journalism, newspaper. That was a big thing back in, the late 80s and the 90s, and then also radio. So I love music. So that's how I got involved. Of course, KPVU, I did all of that, and then graduated, internship at Houston Radio in Houston, Magic 102. And that's when I really learned during my internship, and I really want to push that. That's how I learned about the different departments in radio, because I didn't know about that. In college, we're exposed to so much at Prairie View, but being able to get an internship really, exposed me to the different departments, different areas, programming and marketing and sales. And you just think radio, you turn it on, you hear a song, and that's it. No. So it's so much more to it. And internship, I think the thing in radio, and I don't know if Troy and Dominique will probably also agree, when you have a career in radio or television and broadcasting, because I was on TV, BET with Centric, you do have to move a lot. And that's one thing that relocating early in your career is something that you really need to consider, and work in different cities. I've, worked in Chicago, New York, and New Orleans. So that's one of the things I want to share about when you're thinking about your career. And as a woman, that's really something that you have to be prepared, I would say, to do. So that's the start of it. And like I said, I can talk and go on and on, but in radio, we got to talk fast and get it out what we got to say. So I'll turn it back over to you, Olivia, if that answered your question.
No, you definitely did.
Okay.
Look, I'm here to get all the knowledge that I can get. And I'm sure we have people that are listening and watching right now, and we want to hear it all. So how about you, Miss Troy? What was the start of it for you, dealing with your background, and what kind of inspired you to, like, you know what? I think I want to work in media.
Well, like Carla, it wasn't like a straight shot. I was born in Galveston, but I was raised in El Campo, Texas. I don't know if anyone knows where that is, but it's a small city, kind of about an hour south of Houston. And I ended up at Prairie View A&M because, I went to B.F. Terry High School in Rosenberg. I ended up at Prairie View A&M University because I got an academic scholarship and I was playing softball at the time. So I kind of dabbled in journalism a bit, but I actually came to Prairie View as a nursing major because my family said that was a good career to go into. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just kind of took their word for it. I know that PV is known for nursing, not necessarily for communications. So I started as a nursing major, and it just kept replaying in my head that I had a few English teachers that said, you're a great storyteller, and that you would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least venture down that path. So I switched my major. I didn't tell any of my family members. They literally had no idea what my major was until like my junior year, when I started doing internships, and I went to California to do an internship with KTLA in Hollywood. So before even going on that internship, which again, internships are so important. Internships are so important in this industry because it's a lot of on-the-job training that we need. It's not so much what you read in books. It's not so much, learning. You have to apply what you're learning. So that's what it takes in television. So I started writing for the Panther newspaper. I was the managing editor of the Panther newspaper. And I also participated in Miss Prairie View, Miss Black and Gold, Miss University Village. And so I was just very active on the yard. And I really feel like if you can hold a crowd at Prairie View University and they don't boo you off, then you're not going to have any problem when you get out into the real world, right? So that's what I kind of learned during my time at Prairie View, that if I could be bold enough to get on that stage and hold their attention, that whatever was next wasn't going to really faze me, that I could take that on. But graduated from Prairie View A&M University in 4 years. My scholarship ran out in 4, so my mom was like, finish in 4. I was active in NABJ, but I will be honest, I think that a lot of us don't take advantage of it like we should early on in our, pursuing our career. So I kind of got into it kind of late, went in 2012. I graduated in 2012, went to my first NABJ convention, Don't Be Like Me. And it was a life-changing experience. And from there, I ended up landing a job as a producer in Albany, Georgia, small city. Birthplace of Ray Charles. And a year in, I really wanted to report. I kept showing them my reel tape, which is what you need in this industry, TV. You want to show them what you can do. So I learned how to produce, show them my tape over and over, kind of like a mixtape, like, check out my tape, check out my tape. So finally, they said, you can fill in. From there, became the bureau reporter, which you're kind of off by yourself. Then moved to Shreveport, Louisiana, just to kind of hit on how many times you move. Now 31, but at 22, moved to Georgia, small town, South Georgia, not Atlanta. If that's what some of you guys are thinking, is not Atlanta. So then moved to Thomasville, Georgia, which is even smaller. Then Shreveport, Louisiana for 2 years. And then reporter there, Nightside, Memphis for 3 years. And I was a reporter there and then filling anchor as well. And after that, I moved to Indianapolis, where I've been for a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in October. So that's pretty much my journey. And I met Dominique along the way. It's actually a really funny story of how we met, because we didn't know each other.
And we would love to hear it.
All right. I'd like to just start by saying thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. And originally, I'm from Oxnard, California, which is a town about an hour outside of LA. And my journey to Prairie View, I really didn't know much about Prairie View A&M University at all, but I played soccer and then I got a soccer scholarship. I came to the school to visit and I just fell in love with the university. And I was like, yes, this is where I'm going. I could have gone to UC Davis, but I told my mom, nope, I'm going to Prairie View, that's it. And then I started at Prairie View, and I always wanted to be a news reporter. I just didn't know how I was going to become one. So while I was in school, soccer took up a lot of my time. I still got good grades, but it took up a lot of time. So I didn't focus as much on going to NABJ while I was at the university. But after I graduated, I was like, okay, I still want to be a news reporter, but how do I do it? So I was in this motion where I didn't have any internships. When I graduated, I had applied, but unfortunately no one got back to me. And I was just applying to jobs and I didn't have a reel, which is so important. It's like nobody will get back to you if you don't have a reel. So I applied to more than 50 jobs without a reel. Nobody was getting back to me. And then finally, somebody at a station in LA was like, you need a reel. That's the first thing you need to do. So I was like, how am I supposed to get a reel if I don't have an internship? And I think that's really important right now, because internships are really important so that you can get that experience that you may not get at school. But right now, I'm sure you're running into the problem of a lot of places aren't doing internships because of the pandemic. So I got an iPhone. I went out with my sister and we rode around town and found stories. And she just like held the camera up and I looked at YouTube videos of other reels and I pretty much just like mimicked what they were doing. And I would interview people. Say someone was having a car wash, I was at their car wash, interviewing them, asking them, okay, what's this car wash for? And then I put a reel together myself. And then So I had the reel and I was sending it out, but I still didn't know, okay, what's next? How do I get people to get back to me? So then this is where Troy comes into the picture. I was on LinkedIn and looking, down the list, and Troy Washington, Prairie View A&M University alum. She was a news reporter. So I sent her a message and I'm thinking, okay, she's not going to respond to me. And then she responded back like that. And she told me, okay, if you can do it, make sure you get to NABJ. And NABJ was like a few weeks away. But luckily during that time I graduated and I was just doing odd jobs. I was a flight attendant at the time. So I had free flying benefits. So I just booked my ticket, went to NABJ, they gave me feedback, and the rest is history. After that, I actually met my news director there, well, my former news director, because my first market was Shreveport. And now here I am in Memphis. But it's important to just do what you have to do to get where you want to be. And don't be afraid to reach out to people for help, because if I didn't reach out to Troy and if she wasn't willing to help me, I probably wouldn't be in the place I am right now.
Wow. First of all, that is a great story. And I want to talk about, Troy, how you were saying that you were very active on campus and you kind of joined NABJ late, which is me. I've been active since I've been here, but I just got on NABJ's e-board. And with the pandemic, it's like everybody's in a standstill. And then with you, Miss Dominique, you saying how you messaged her and you kind of shot your shot, as we would say it, or whatever. And I felt like that's a great story, because I want to touch on it, starting with you, Miss Washington. Like, we're in college right now and we're doing a lot and things like that, but we know once you become a senior, and really before you become a senior, it's time to start thinking bigger. Like, what job am I going to have? How am I going to be financially stable? How am I going to get in my career field? So how important do you think it is in college to shoot your shot when it comes down to, that dream job?
I mean, Dominique and we were talking about this like a few days ago, and how important it is to have mentors in this industry. Even if, I started off looking for the perfect mentor, and it could be someone that you wouldn't even imagine might be someone that you could look towards. And there are a lot of people who, with social media, they'll reach back out to you. They'll answer your questions. Like any one of us, like if you reach out to us, we're very, we'll communicate with you. We'll get back to you. As Twitter, Facebook, we're all on Instagram. So don't be afraid to ask someone else, how did you do this? Because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And my problem was I didn't really know how to go about getting to where I wanted to go. So once I got to the places I wanted to go, I wanted to make sure I could say, okay, Dominique, you make a left here, because I kept going straight and then I had to go back and make a U-turn. And that caused me a lot of extra time. And I didn't want her to go through that. And I think as sisters in media, we have to do that for each other, because who else, if not us, who else is going to do that for us? But I also think that it takes like the students stepping out and saying, hey, there's a person doing what I really want to do. Let me reach out to them and ask them how they got it done. I'm not asking them to do it for me, but I'm asking them, tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'm willing to work. I'll do whatever I have to do to get where I got to go. And even if that person doesn't respond, keep reaching out to people. Don't stop there. Don't let anything stop you, because sometimes people really just don't see the messages, or they're genuinely busy. So just keep reaching out, look for those people that inspire you, and, don't get down if you don't get a response right away. But mentorship, I think that is very important. And that's how everything comes full circle, because I have people that helped me and I have people that I've helped. And I know those people are helping more people. And we just continue to grow that type of cycle. But if I could go back, biggest thing, I would start really early reaching out to people that can help me, and they can point you in that right direction. So.
Yes, it's very important to reach out to people and network and talk and things like that. Miss Carla, did you want to add to that?
Well, I think so. Being that Troy and Dominique are younger than I am, when I was at Prairie View, we didn't have social media. We didn't have these extra digital platforms to reach out to people. So we had to do it the old school way, and calling and, writing memos and dropping letters off at the businesses. I mean, really hitting the pavement and just calling over and over to try to get in the door for an opportunity for an internship in a position to do that. And I think that's kind of like where you guys are right now with the pandemic. You know, you still have that digital way of doing it, which is something, you know, we never had. So when someone called, you know, it was important for us to pay attention to the phone calls, be professional, be ready, have outfits ready to go if someone wants to talk to you and get on Zoom. You know, it was things like that that you have to keep in mind, that, like Troy was saying, don't let a no stop you. Keep going and get creative and find ways to get in front of people. You know, have your reel. In radio, you have to have an air check. In television, it's a reel or a sizzle reel or whatever, but you have more avenues now. And with radio, it's about your voice and your clarity and reading out loud. When you're in the mirror, you know, when you're taking selfies and stuff, read a lot. Look in the mirror when you're talking. Practice your speech. Those type of little things will help you. You know, you just have to, like Troy was saying, and Dominique, you know, you, as we mentor people and you learn from them, you want to learn from their mistakes. And if we could help you and prevent you from making the mistakes that we made, then, you know, this will put you in the right track a little faster. It's not going to put you at the top of the food chain. And I think that's something that as a college student, you have to remember when you're graduating and when you're trying to get that opportunity. Yes, of course, you're looking for employment. We get it. That's why you're here. But at the same time, your college degree shows an employer that you're trainable and that you are ready to learn to do something. But that doesn't mean you're going to come out on the top and get the job and get this big salary. I mean, when I first got into radio, I was not making any money. And my mother was like, this is something you said you want to do. Do you think you want to stick with it? And I said, absolutely. And so working at different radio stations, being a producer, being a program director, being a promotions director, going out and going to different places that I had to go to, meeting artists. I mean, I was one of the first people that met Beyonce when she was 15 years old. I was working at Magic 102. It's those kinds of opportunities along the way. You set up your network and you're able to meet people. I had to go to comedy clubs a lot. The radio station had to do promotions there. Guess who I met at a comedy club back in the 90s was Steve Harvey's manager. That was a long, long time ago. So now I am on the air with him, and I am the program director of his entire network that's over 200 radio stations in this country, all because I knew somebody that knew him and he gave me a job, and I've been working for him for 17 years. So do you see what I'm saying? So it's all about networking and starting early. It won't hurt you. It won't hurt at all. So I just wanted to add that.
Wow, some gems are being dropped. If you are just now tuning in, this is the Women in Media event for COMM Week, and we have some beautiful panelists. We have Miss Troy Washington, Miss Carla, Miss Dominique, and they are spilling so many great gems already, and we are barely already into the event, and I'm just taking it all in. So one thing I want to ask you all, starting with Miss Dominique, what do you love about working in media?
Well, one thing I like about working in news is that there's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. No day is ever the exact same. You're always busy. And I like to go out and be able to just tell those important stories, go out to those communities where people feel like their voice isn't heard oftentimes, and just be able to get those results, get those answers for them. Because oftentimes some people are ignored and they reach out several times to, let's say, their property manager because they're having issues with their apartment. And then we show up, and then by the next day or even that same day, they're already out there trying to fix the issues. So it's just wonderful to make that change for people, especially when they say they've been dealing with something for months or even years, and then we're able to just fix it for them.
Love that. Miss Troy, would you like to add to that?
I think I just like that people feel like they can relate to you. When people watch your show or they listen to your show every morning, they kind of feel like I was talking to my dentist's office this morning because I have an upcoming appointment. And she called and she said, "Hey, I love watching you on the morning show. It feels like I'm having my morning coffee with Troy." And I was just like, that really made my day because that early in the morning, 5 in the morning, I'm thinking, I'm the only one up. But other people are up with you, and it makes you want to get up. It makes you want to do your job. It makes you want to make sure that you're giving them the best information and all the latest that you have. You want to give them the best that you got when you know that they're relying on you for that. So I think it's just being able to relate as a human, as a reporter, and just genuinely as a person who's going through this pandemic just like anyone else, because this is something new for everyone. And so when they can have that little bit of normalcy in their lives, just because they can turn on the news and they feel like they see you every morning, that means more than a lot of us really realize. So that's important to me.
You can tell that you guys are very passionate about what you do. I love it. Miss Carla, I wanted to ask you, because I know that you work in radio. Like you said, you've been working with Steve Harvey on his radio show for 17 years now. Is that correct?
Correct.
17 years. Wow. So now that you kind of have, because you're the program director.
Yes.
So with that position and you being a Black woman, how is it being a Black woman with a position of authority, if that makes sense? How is that for you? And is it a struggle, or how has it been for you?
Well, it's not easy, you know, any type of boss position for women of color is, you know, I think that we have to be twice as strong. We have to work very, very hard. So working in management and be labeled a boss and not aggressive, you know, there's some labels that come with being a Black woman. But at the same time, my job is fun. I like what I do. So I'm very passionate about it. And I am in charge of making sure that our morning show, our radio show, that we are informing people, we are entertaining people at the same time. Because in times like this, especially the pandemic and social injustices and things that are going on, everything is not a joke. So there are times when we have to find a balance to be able to inform our listeners, tell them what's going on, and at the same time, try to make them laugh and bring a smile to their face. And they listen to you over and over. We hear so many times how people say, "Oh, we love listening to you guys. You guys are like part of our family." So we inform them, we entertain them. We also let them know when it's time to vote. People use Black radio. They depend on Black radio for way more versus when other formats, how their listeners use radio. They rely on us for everything. And we feel it's our honor and our duty and our obligation to make sure that we deliver on that. So with that being said, with me being a level in executive management and an on-air talent, we don't take that lightly. So we want to make sure that whatever conversations that we have with advertisers, whatever our programming content is, me being a leader, I always make sure that I'm speaking up for our audience. I'm speaking up for Black women and making sure that our needs and goals are met in the way that we can deliver it on air. And it's not, sometimes you don't want to get too, what's the word, too technical. You want to have fun and that the audience is receiving what you're saying and they understand the message when we say why it's so important to vote, why we say a woman like, for example, Stacey Abrams, why we introduce her to the audience over and over and over so they can get it. Radio is about, I know a lot of times people listen to radio, y'all play the same songs over and over and over. Radio is about repetition. It's about redundancy because people are busy. So Olivia, you may hear something at the radio at a certain time when you were listening, but Troy and Dominique weren't listening at that time. They were busy. They were at work or they were dealing with their family. So guess what? what my job is as a program director is to make sure Olivia heard that message, but Dominique and Troy hears that message as well when they are coming to the radio. So there's a lot that's involved with the leadership and management of it. But like I said, it's not impossible. It's not easy, but be yourself, be focused. And that's what I do every single day to make sure our message is out there. Does that answer your question? I can't hear you.
Look, you are answering all of my questions.
Good, okay.
And I like how you kind of talked about, because of course in radio, and I love radio and I love TV. So like I said, I'm taking this all in. You said kind of trying to find that balance of when it's time to be serious, and then of course making sure that you're entertaining. And I know for Miss Dominique and Miss Troy, that it might be a little different for you guys because there's a lot of times where you have to be serious. And I'm very, very curious to know, how has it been for you two, maybe having to report on serious issues such as Black Lives Matter as being like a Black woman, or social injustices as being a Black woman? How has that been for you personally? And how do you have to show it on camera?
I mean, I'll go first, but I came from Memphis, where the newsroom was very Black, right?
Right.
And then I came to Indianapolis, where I'm the only Black female reporter. Currently, I was the only dayside reporter until I moved to mornings. So we didn't have very much representation on that front. With everything that was going on this summer, the protests, I really felt like I had to be that voice. It wasn't a very powerful voice, so I had to make sure that I spoke up and I gave my feedback and I gave my opinion, and I was very vocal about what we should be covering, how we should be covering, the characters we should be talking with. So I even joined our committee. We have a diversity committee that was formed because of the protests and different things like that. So I just made sure that if I'm going to be the only one, I'm not going to be the quiet one. I'm going to make sure that I'm speaking up for my community, that I'm speaking up for everyone who may be watching and they don't have that power to say anything about how our coverage looks. Or sometimes if we got it wrong, I would even talk to my news director or my assistant news director. Hey guys, I think we really missed it on that one. So, and you have to be bold enough to do that, but in a proper way. I mean, you don't have to come off as an angry Black woman. There's a sweet spot to come off that you are assertive, but you aren't aggressive, that you are bold, but you're not too pushy. And I think that unfortunately, as Black women, we learn to find that balance. We learn that you do have to work harder. You have to be twice as good sometimes, and you don't have any room to make those same mistakes. You have to be ready. And that comes across with your delivery as well. But I think that that's something you can own with your confidence. I feel very proud, especially right now, to be a Black woman and to be able to lead that type of coverage. Because if we don't step up, who's going to do it? So, you know, it just comes down to, this is our time and I'm going to do it. I mean, even as far as starting to wear braids on air, I was out at the protest with my box braids in. And here in Indianapolis, that was not a thing at the time. It was starting to pick up across in different news stations across the US. But I just asked my managers, I was like, hey, look, we're in a pandemic. I'm trying to deal with my natural hair. I'm going to wear that a little bit, and I'm going to wear my braids a little bit, but I'm still going to give the news and deliver it in a professional manner. So I don't think that, I just felt really proud to be able to stand my ground and to reach that point where I could do that. And it was the right time for it.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off what Troy said, in those moments, it's important for us to be that voice for our community, because our community is looking towards us to speak up for them, to share their stories. And it's important to go out there and find those characters, the right characters, to speak on the matters while also being fair and telling the story right. And then also just remember, you know, that we're human too. This is our job. But at the end of the day, we're affected by some of the images just as much as everyone else. And it's important that you take that time to, you know, I know some people said they completely shut off their phones and didn't get on social media because they needed that mental break. So it's important to just take care of your mental health. If you need to see a therapist, reach out to one as well, because it's difficult, you know, seeing those images and then having to come to work and just put on your best face like everything's okay when inside it may not be. So it's just important that you know, be that voice for people, but then also take care of yourself during those times.
I'd like to say I like that background, Olivia.
I know, the lemons, the main squeeze.
I just loved everything that you guys just mentioned right now. And it we have people talking in the comments. So for radio, what do you think of strictly online radio stations versus terrestrial radio and audience tech?
Yeah,
so I guess that question is for Miss
radio,
Carla, who could best answer that.
Thank you, Olivia. Online,
okay.
Online radio stations versus terrestrial radio. So everybody's probably saying, "What is terrestrial radio?" Terrestrial radio is
Are
just
you guys
radio.
able to hear me?
Yeah, it was a little delay. You're a little slight delay, but we can hear you. You ready for me to answer? Okay, I'm going to jump in. So terrestrial radio is just a regular radio station. You get in your car, you turn it on. That's terrestrial radio. Online radio can be different forms and different formats. As far as I work in terrestrial radio, and that's what I know, it's commercial radio. You know, let's just be honest. How we get paid is from commercials. It's from advertisers. That's how we make money. And that's for everyone that works in the radio station, from the general manager on down to the on-air talent, to the promotions department, to the sales department who actually sells the revenue. As far as an artist, you know, you have your artists, Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion, and all these different type of artists. They need terrestrial radio to expose their song. When they get airplay and they get music on the air, that's where sales comes from. That's where record sales comes from. So with an audience at, for example, the Steve Harvey Morning Show, we have 9 million listeners per week that listen to us because we are a nationally syndicated show. So if you have a product or if you have a song out, wouldn't you want 9 million people a week to hear your song, or 9 million people to drink your soft drink, or drink Pepsi or drink Coke? Or this is a strategic marketing plan and branding behind that. And so radio is one of those mediums that gets the message out fast, gets the song out fast, gets the product out fast, and we repeat it so people can remember it. So I am a big fan of terrestrial radio. Yay! So that's the answer to the radio question. Olivia has a slight delay.
Well, I think one thing that we haven't really gotten to touch on might be that, and Dominique, you kind of touched on
earlier when we were talking. Yes, and we have Ms. Z said braids on air.
Yeah, I think we lost Olivia. But go
so
ahead,
what I was going to say is, when Dominique was talking about just how many jobs she applied to, I think that a lot of people think that it's one of those industries where you apply to one job and you get it or you don't. But what Dominique said, I probably applied to like 100 jobs before I actually, and some of them I didn't even get rejection letters. Like they just never responded to me. So I got to the point where if someone emailed me back and just rejected me or said, hey, we gave the job to someone else, I was like, yes, at least I'm hearing from you. So I don't know if that was ever your experience, Ms. Carla, or like with getting just a job or getting started, but don't give up. That's what we want to let you guys know, that you might apply for multiple jobs and you may not hear anything back, but a lot of us, to get to this point, or to even get in this industry, everyone didn't say yes.
Right. And let me add to that, Troy. Also, too, as far as getting in the door, we talked about internships, and it may be a challenge during the pandemic, like Dominique was saying, to actually get that internship. But let's just say things are normal. We get some normalcy back. Understand when you get in the door there and you are assigned to do things as an internship, no task is too small. So you need to remember that you are trying to gain experience. You are trying to gain employment. So if they're asking you to do something, run and go get someone a soft drink or anything that you say, well, I got a college degree and I'm up here going to the vending machine. Always remember that those little moments like that, don't turn your nose up or have an attitude about those things, because bringing that soft drink into a meeting, into a conference room, and they say, hey, thank you, great, sit down, let me get your thoughts on this. What do you think about this? And you may be able to have an opportunity to say, who, me? Yeah, well, I think we should do this. Fresh minds and fresh ideas and all those type of things. So always be prepared to have a great attitude when you're in there, and know that when you're asked to do something, don't judge what the task assignment is. Do you follow what I'm saying, Dominique and Troy?
No, exactly. I mean, I remember I used to do lunch runs in LA all the time, and that was the norm. And that's how I got to talk to some of the talent or the EPs. And that's when they have time, is when you're running and doing things for them. And then they might be able to drop some gems on you or look at something that you wanted them to look at.
Right.
And it's all about building relationships, because also you never know where some of those people are headed. Like they might be a producer today and a news director tomorrow, and they remember you because you were the person that, I remember she used to bring me coffee. She was always early. She was really eager. She was really talented. She has some tenacity. And when they get in that position, there's a position open. And because you built that relationship like 5 or 10 years ago, all of a sudden there's an opportunity in front of you. And you could say, oh my gosh, you dropped out of nowhere, but that's not true. You kind of open that path for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
I think Olivia was having some connection issues. So that's why I popped up on the screen. But she did send me her questions in advance. I'm just going to kind of fill in until she's able to get her connection stable.
Okay.
So I know that earlier in the conversation, the topic of hair was mentioned, and there were some students in the comments who were kind of chiming in there. I think there was a question around kind of the role of hair and physical appearance when it comes to, being a media personality as a Black woman. So I don't know if any of you would like to speak to that topic.
Nam, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, even when it comes to hair, when you sign those contracts, in there may be a clause that says like, you can't just switch up your look without your manager's position, without your manager's approving it. You have to run it by them, and that goes for everyone. And even speaking of hair, a few weeks ago, I asked my manager if I can get braids, and he said yes. So in a couple weeks, I'll be on air with braids as well. And I'm just so excited about it, because when I first went into the business, and this was only a few years ago, it seemed like it was unheard of. And I just thought, I guess I'll never, wear my natural hair or never get to wear braids. And then to finally say, I'm going to get braids in a couple weeks and scheduled my appointment yesterday, it's just a wonderful feeling. And it seems like more and more stations and markets are getting on board, and it's becoming more acceptable. So when you guys go into the business, it won't even be a discussion. You'll just let them know, and it won't be a problem at all.
And see how strategic it's been is you reached out and you were just like, how do I go about asking them, can I wear braids? So Dominique and I actually had a discussion about that. So it's moved past the point of don't even ask to now you can ask. But one day it's going to be, you know what, it's just that widespread and acceptable that you don't even have to ask. It's just normal. So I'm really excited about the progress that the industry is making when it comes to our appearance, even just being ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all been told in TV, maybe, I don't know how radio might work with this, but when it comes to your voice, I don't have a voice that's going to sound like a white woman my age. That's just not my voice. However, you have to find your voice and you have to polish that voice, and you don't need to sound like anyone else in this industry. You need to sound like yourself, and you need to constantly work on becoming a better you. And so that's what I've learned over time. At first, we all start out trying to do our news voice, our best news voice, or how we think we're supposed to sound. And I think as you go through the years, you learn that all you ever needed was your voice, and to kind of polish that out, and you become more relaxed. So that's also my advice. Don't look for a news voice or how you should look or how you should sound. But I also think it takes some time to find yourself and that confidence to grow and to be comfortable on air and doing your thing. So,
I'm so glad that I came in while you guys were talking about this, and sorry for my technical difficulties, but just from personal experience, like I said, I love TV and radio, but oftentimes I listen to my voice and I play it back and I'm like my voice does not sound, I feel like sometimes I don't articulate things a lot. And it's like I try my best to talk as clear, and to me, it sounds like I'm talking so great. And then when I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God. So I'm kind of excited that you talked about, of course, we want to make sure our voice is professional, but just try to, be you in the midst of it. And I'm glad that you guys are saying that is very important, because that's almost scary to me, that I'm listening to the news and I'm not able to be like I don't even know how to look. I can't even do it right now. But I'm not able to just talk how I would hear somebody say that. So I feel like that's very important. Before my Wi-Fi or whatever was acting up, and we were talking about reporting things such as Black Lives Matter and things like that, I kind of made some notes. And it was while you were talking, Miss Troy, and you kind of explained finding that balance of having your voice but not coming off too aggressive, and make sure you're standing up, but standing up in a respectful way. And it kind of made me think, I'm not sure if you guys seen this, or if you guys watched The Talk, and this recent situation that happened with Sharon Osbourne. And so that in the midst of that, I felt like the other woman, I'm sorry, I can't think of her name right now.
Cheryl Underwood.
Cheryl Underwood, yes, ma'am. My name started with an S. I felt like in that moment, she had to do exactly what you were doing. But what was different for her, she wasn't, around or in a space to where she could really just voice her opinion. And I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but I really want to know, what do you guys think about that? And for the people who don't know the situation, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood, they are on The Talk and they're co-hosts together. And there was just a situation where there is a man that they were talking about who has came off very racist in the past and has said comments that were very just not okay. And Sharon, that's her friend, so she was standing up for him. And it just got a little weird, and it got kind of disrespectful, in my opinion, that Sharon was crying and just trying to prove her point and stand up for her friend and say she's not racist. I don't know. And then it caused Cheryl, who's a Black woman, to kind of have to take herself back and speak in a small tone so she wouldn't come off aggressive, and still try to give her opinion, but not in a negative way, so it wouldn't be taken wrongly. So I was wondering if any of you guys seen that, if you had an opinion about that. Miss Carla?
I do, because Cheryl Underwood works with us on the Steve Harvey Morning Show. So she's a contributor, which means she has a segment on our show that we air every Thursday. And so very close to the situation. And for her in that moment, for me, especially being a Black woman in media, I felt she handled it very professionally, because there is a double standard, and it is a different situation. Had Cheryl handled it a totally different way, it would be a different conversation. That Cheryl was aggressive, that Cheryl was loud, or any of those things that she would have had every right to do in that moment, because in that moment, her colleague dismissed what she was saying about a story, about the situation, about Piers Morgan's opinion, about Meghan Markle's opinion of what was happening to her and her truth. So with his dismissive attitude, Sharon Osbourne has a relationship with Piers Morgan, that's her friend, and she felt the need to defend her friend. So she didn't understand why Cheryl didn't agree with her defending her friend. So it wasn't the disagreement that I think with the whole story. I think it was how Sharon handled it and how she told her colleague not to feel a certain way in that moment that it was happening. So I felt that she handled it very, very professionally, being a Black woman on a national syndicated talk show live in that moment.
To piggyback off of you, Carla, Cheryl used to always come to Memphis for Chuckles.
Right.
And so she would be there like in the studio just hanging out with us all the time.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised by her response. She is a true professional and she's been doing this for many years. Yeah. So she's not new to this at all. She's true to this. And I think as you go through the industry, some things might surprise you and then you learn better and you learn how to handle it, and you learn that you have to be calm, but make sure your point is made, that you get your point across. And that's what I saw her executing, that she knows that, okay, I can't get with you like you're trying to get with me. However, I still will make sure that you understand my stance, and I'm still going to stand up. And I think that you learn as you go that there is a certain amount of privilege that we're starting to learn about, but a lot of times they may not necessarily be aware of when that's taking place. But since we still have to act appropriately. And when you are in that position where she has so many eyes on her, she cannot gamble with that, because we don't always get those second chances. No one really gives us that type of leeway. And I think she knew that as so when I saw her reaction, I was just like, girl, yeah, she's like an OG in this industry. So I didn't expect anything other than that. So it was just, I think she handled it perfectly.
It's inspiring for you. You guys really just made me think. Just like you said, we don't get those second chances, and she definitely did handle it professionally. And just me being a watcher, it was burning me up inside, to kind of see how you have this other woman over here who has had, privilege, and to see her sit down and just cry in front of a Black woman, it just, as a viewer, it burned me up. But, as somebody who wants to be a professional one day in this business, you guys are totally correct. And the way she handled it was very graceful. And you guys, telling how you guys know her and you know her character. So it seems like she's a beautiful woman and she only did what was expected of her. So I just really wanted to hear you guys talk about that. And because I know that was just something that you guys may have went through in private, and for Cheryl Underwood, it was just shown publicly, and a lot of more people got to see what might be the daily life of some Black women in media. But on a positive note, I kind of want to switch gears and just kind of talk about like in your position, starting with you, Miss Dominique, how is it having being in a workspace that is very positive, and it lets you get to be you and lets you get to be yourself, voice your opinions? Like, how is that to have a great workspace like that?
Well, I think having a great workspace is one of the most important things, no matter what job you're doing. You want to go to a job where you can enjoy coming to work each and every day. And when you work at a positive workplace, then you're able to do that. You're able to do your best work and put your best foot forward. So I think that's so important that you work at a positive workspace. And even if you don't, and there could be drama going on, just try to keep yourself out of it as much as possible. Because a lot of times, people start talking and then you can get to talking as well. And they may run back and say what you said, but they won't say what they said. And then it just, may cause issues. So it's just so important that you work in a great workspace. That's one of the biggest things. It's wonderful when you do, no matter where you're at. And you can always do your best work when you can. And it's just nice, like we mentioned earlier, even when it comes to switching up our hair or being able to wear protective styles. It makes you feel like you're appreciated, like you're valued, and then you want to come to work and do your best for your employer, for the people that you're speaking out for as well.
Miss Troy, did you want to add to that?
Like Dominique said, I think you always hope to work in a positive space and to be around positive people. But she also kind of hit in on you create that space and you kind of control that, because at the end of the day, we're all passionate about our jobs. So some factors you can't truly control. However, you can control how you operate within those ramifications when it comes to either working from home or out in the community or just being around your coworkers. There are some people who may not have the greatest attitude towards your company, but that just means that you just have to have an eye out for those things and just watch yourself. And I think that I had to learn that as you go, because coming out of college, you think this is going to be great. We're all grown up. There's not other things that go on, but you do have to cover your butt occasionally. Mm-hmm. So that's an important thing that you just want to learn early. I mean, there are positive workspaces and you always want to be in a positive workspace, but I think it would be unrealistic for us to act as if it's always all good, because going from level to level, whether you're in high school or college, there's always stuff, because these are humans, these are people. The same people that were in those spaces are going to these spaces. So I think that it's all about your approach and how you handle yourself. That's what creates your environment. If you're focused on what the work that you're doing and the work in your community and being the best at what you're doing, then that's what you need to be concerned with, and not so much, I guess, the extra that can get you caught up. That's the best way to put it. But newsrooms, we kind of tell news for a living. So we dig into different people's lives and different things like that. So it's only natural that some of those people have those same tendencies when it comes to just their regular life. And I hope I put that as good as I could for you guys.
And all of our viewers out there, if you have any questions, please do not be afraid to drop them. We have a great set of panelists right here, and we have a question actually right now. So what advice do you have for students who are worried about going into a career field that is often low paying and unstable? Miss Carla, did you want to speak on this, since you said, earlier that you weren't getting paid a lot when you got into your career field?
Yeah, advice on getting into a career. Well, that's this field. That's for sure. I mean, when you graduate from college, you get your degree, and, like I said, you're like, bam, that's it. Well, the work is just beginning. And you need to understand, especially in this field, these jobs people tend to get these jobs. And what we tend to find out in this business and maybe other industries, that they will pay you to be an expert at one thing. And if you're an expert at that one thing and you do it well, then you're able to maybe level up, like Troy was saying. But sometimes you want to get in and you want to learn all these things, and then you're jack of all trades and master of none. So you got to figure out what it is that you really want to do once you get your degree and you get into that field and that industry, and you're not earning the type of money that you thought you'd be earning. And let me just say this out the gate: no one gets paid what they deserve to make. None of us do. So keep that in mind while you're grinding, while you're hustling, while you're trying to get your position, and be smart. Be smart with your money. Talk to your family, get financial advice. Maybe you move back home for a little while, live with your family, or maybe you want to find a job or apply for a job in another area. And you work in small towns. We call them markets in media, which is just a city. It's another word for city or town. And you work in a smaller market or a smaller city to work your way up. Maybe you have relatives in that in those towns, and maybe you can kind of work out an arrangement where you can live with relatives. You know, you're not going to be in steak and lobster out the gate. You know, you're going to have to maybe do some noodles for a little while like you did in college. You just got to budget your money. It's not impossible. It can be done. You know, we are all women here that are testifying to it can be done and it can be accomplished, but you just got to be smart and be patient and be focused. And I think that, you know, you'll get there. You'll get there. There's just way more opportunities now from when I started. Social media, you have a way to brand yourself quickly and faster and get, you know, you don't have to be a star and a celebrity to brand yourself, you know, and that's something that, you know, you can do now. You're doing it, Olivia. Build your resume up, build your brand up, and then that can speed the process up of you maybe getting in front of more people versus, you know, the old fashioned way, the old school way, the dinosaur age, the way I had to do it. So I hope that helps out.
Look, Miss Carla, graduating in the 90s, that's not that far away.
Girl, we didn't have no social media in 1990.
Look, you are still young, Miss Carla.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Dominique, do you have any advice on how to make your reel or portfolio stick out to an employer?
Take me off mute. I would say for the most part, when you make your reel, you would think, okay, a lot goes into it, but oftentimes keep it simple. For example, your montage, it only needs to be a minute, just quick hits, because I've heard a lot of employers, they only watch, you know, the first 30 seconds or so. So you need to grab their attention right out the gate. Employers also like you to be active, not just standing there in front of a building or whatever it is you're going to be reporting on. So that'll make you stand out as well. When you're at an event, make sure you're walking around and showing something to the employer, and just, you know, try to make it quick, because that's, you know, something people may not know. And then from that point, I feel like when employers look at your work, they know everyone is going to kind of look the same. Everyone may not have that much experience because you're right out of college. So it's just important to do your best, put your best foot forward, and just, I feel like if you know those, you know, first few things, to keep it quick and be active, an employer might look at it and they'll be like, okay, that person, they have something, we can work with them and they can be a star one day.
I think it's important to own your space as well. That's something I learned a little later down the line, even when it comes to live shots. And starting out, you don't have many live shots. That's the goal, to get into a spot to where you can get those live shots, because that's what your bigger markets, like your top 20s and your top 10s, which Houston, Dallas, all of that, that's what you see, those live shots. And so in those, you kind of see them, they look comfortable. They look like they're just talking to you, but that's developed over time. So you want to be able to show that confidence and then show that you have the ability to grow even greater from that. So I think that that's important too. And I think that to piggyback off of what Carla was saying about the pay, I started off making 27, I think. So I was in Georgia by myself, and, you know, you use credit cards and it's, you know, you're barely making it, but you're there. And I think what I had to realize is that it is a grind and I'm passionate about it. But if you just, it's not like it used to be. You used to think that you had to go, I can only go here and then there, but there are people who are jumping from these small markets to big markets within a few years. Like they're going somewhere and getting like 2 years of experience and going straight up there and making the big bucks. So I'm not telling you that that's going to absolutely happen for you, but it's not out the question like it used to be. I think now you can go somewhere, get your experience. And if you bust your butt and you really go hard, there's no telling where you can go. So.
I love that advice. We have a question from a COMM student named Toriel. I actually have class with her, and she's such a great person. But she says, what are some steps you all took to prepare yourself for entering the real world? And we can start with Miss Carla.
After I graduated from Prairie, I went back because I'll back up. When I was interning at Magic 102, that was in 1989. So when I was interning there, I got a job offer to work there as an assistant. And I told my mom, I was so excited. I told my mom, and my mom told me to turn it down. And she told me, if you can get a job offer at this radio station where you want to work without a degree, you can get a job offer there with a degree. So you need to focus and finish school. And I was looking at my mom like, wait, what? And seriously? And that's exactly what I did. I took my mother's advice and I graduated. And when I graduated, I contacted the radio station and they hired me. And I got my first job as an assistant, hanging up banners. It wasn't anything glamorous, but I was on promotions, going to grocery stores and car dealerships and all those, remote weekend things that you have to do, working all the time. But I moved back home with my mother. And I, saved my money, and I was able to get a car, with air conditioning. My first car would have air conditioning in the summer, driving around Houston. So I saved my coins and I stayed focused in the radio station. And I once I interned and worked in one department, I said, hey, I want to work in that department. Then I was able to be an employee. You know what I'm saying? And try to apply for a position in a different department and go in and talk to that supervisor and get some advice. So that's the advice that I would tell you, how to prepare for the real world when you're coming right out of college, but still keep looking, still get the experience, still see what you need to do. If that's not the level where you want to be, or that's not the job you want to be, still reach out to other people that have those jobs and those positions and see if they can talk to you and school you. And like Troy said, it may be a little bit faster now with you being able to, what we used to call in radio, you go from market to market and you get the call letters on your resume, and the call letters are the radio station. So you may know the radio station as Magic 102 or 93.7, The Beat. That's the slogan name, but the call letters are KMJQ. So those are the call letters that the official title of the radio station, you put that on your resume. So when you send that out somewhere else, where have you worked? I've worked at KMJQ. I've worked at WBLS. I've worked at WGCI. So these are the radio stations in Chicago and New York and WQUE in New Orleans. You build up that resume and they say, okay, hey, this person is putting in the work. This person is hustling. Let's see what he or she has to offer. So that's my advice.
I love it. Troy, did you want to have any specific tips on how you enter into the real world? Because just being a senior, I feel like you can never just be too prepared. And I feel like I'm trying to prepare myself right now, but it's also scary at the same time, especially when you're working so hard to find a job or maybe find another internship. So what are some tips that you can give people that are in the chat and graduating seniors and anybody?
I mean, my best gift would be honesty, because 6 months out from graduation, my goal was to have a job lined up. Like, I wanted a job offer. I didn't have that. So I started to get really nervous and afraid that I was going to graduate without a job. So I went to NABJ and I was just like, I got to get a job here. And I couldn't afford to stay at the host hotel. So I stayed at one of the cheap hotels, and then I would catch, the little taxi down to this was New Orleans. So, right. Go down to the host hotel and go in and out. So you do what you got to do. And I think that I can't tell you that you're going to know all the answers and you're going to leave and it's all going to make sense, because I ended up at my mom's house for 2 months before I started my job. And then I packed up my Mazda and drove 17 hours to start my career and couldn't afford furniture and got an apartment that was $500 a month. So you do what you got to do and you just go for it. And ultimately, the biggest component of any of my success has been my faith. And each time that I thought that it wasn't going to work out, it did. So if you are a senior and you're getting worried and you've done everything that you can do, then you just have to know that it's going to work out and you just got to go for it. You just got to do it, because sometimes it just takes jumping. And I know that we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of point out that I feel like as a Black woman, especially in media, a lot of people think that we can't have it all. And that was one of my pet peeves, that people kind of, oh, well, you're career driven and you won't do anything else. Like, you're just all about your career. But you can have it all. If that's what's kind of holding you back, don't let that hold you back. Like, you can still have a family. You can still have your husband, your children. You can have all your awards. Like, you can do whatever it is, the goal that you have. Like, don't let anyone tell you that you can't. I mean, I have a daughter, and she is going on 2 years old. And when I, was pregnant, still reporting, everyone was like, what are you going to do? Oh my gosh, are you going to be able to come back? And you know what? I hit the gym and I came back. And to me, I feel like I'm better than ever, and I'm more balanced because I have more of that work-life balance than just focusing on my career, because I think that those aspects bring something to your life as well. So don't miss out on that. I focused for like 8 years, and then I had my daughter, and now I'm able to split my focus, and I feel like I'm able to be a person, a journalist who's able to connect even more with the community. And then I was nominated for an Emmy when I was pregnant from coverage that I did while I was pregnant. So just don't be afraid of what you can do. Like, you're the only one limiting yourself. So just know that you can have it all. Don't let anyone tell you can't. That's all I have to say.
No, I love it. I love it. We can have it all. We need to put that on a t-shirt. We can have it all. We are winding down. I lastly just want to ask, first of all, thank you guys again for taking time out your busy schedule to come talk to us and just drop so much important information. So lastly, I just want to ask you guys, are you guys open to having mentors? And mentees? And if you are, would you mind kind of stating your information or where people can find you?
Well, I'm definitely open to having mentees, and you can definitely email me, or you can find me on social media as well. Do you think it would be best if we write it in the chat box, our information? They could jot it down, or
maybe if you write it in the chat box, then we'll have it put on the screen, and that people can screenshot it, they can save it. It'll be on YouTube. So,
okay.
But thank you guys so much. We love a good mentor. So, Look, I myself personally will be hitting all three of you guys. But thank you so much again for taking time out your schedule. Thank you for coming and talk to us. We will definitely, I'm about to graduate, but I would definitely love to see you guys come talk to the next students next year. And hopefully we'll have some people reach out to you guys and you guys can keep in contact with them. But this was such a great, great panel. Thank you, Dr. Blackwell, and thank you, TDV, for putting on this great event. Like I said, I was super excited. As soon as I seen the title, Women in Media, I was like, oh, yeah, this is exactly what I want to host. And I was so glad that I was asked to do it. So just thank you guys again. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And just keep being successful within your careers. And just keep putting on for PVAMU, first of all. Putting on for us and making us look so great. And in the COMM department, a lot of people don't really see COMM alumni, and they think that we're not doing anything. But I'm like, we are great. We are awesome. So thank you guys so much for just being great inspirations and role models to everyone.
Can I add to that too? I just want to shout out to Troy and to Dominique, my sisters in media. And Troy, I have a 13-year-old daughter. I have a husband. I've been married 17 years. So just shout out to say we can have it all. I wanted to echo that because it's hard. But when you balance it out, family is more important than anything. So I just want to say that to my sisters in media. I am right here cheering you on from the sidelines and success. And for the students out there, we're here for you. I know, Olivia, you're about to graduate, seniors. We got you, girl. We here.
This went by so quick.
It really did.
If it was up to me, we'll be talking all day, but we know we can't do that. And here's Dr. Blackwell.
All right, everybody. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you again to our moderator for another great session. We got a lot of really valuable tips today, things that students can be using right now. You know, the importance of networking and putting yourself out there. We talked about starting early to work toward your goals and really trying to find your unique and genuine voice and to polish that so that you're ready for that on-air opportunity when it comes. This was a really great session, and we have another one planned this afternoon. So come back and join us again at 3 p.m. This afternoon, we'll be having a session titled The Wide World of Sports Journalism. This is kind of an in-demand session, given the number of students we have who are interested in sports. We have two great speakers, one from the NFL Network and the other from the Houston Chronicle. And so we'll be able to hear, I think, some valuable information for those students who are looking at a career specifically in sports journalism or even just considering it. So I hope you'll join us at the same link, pvamutv.org/COMM week. If you missed any part of this morning's session, you can always find it on YouTube and rewatch it, revisit some of those points if you didn't get it all down in your notes. And, you know, we're going all week. Thursday is the career fair. So if you haven't registered for that, I would encourage you to do so. It's all virtual and it's happening on Handshake. And if you need the registration link, reach out to one of your COMM professors and they should be able to help you with that. I hope you have a good rest of the day and I hope you'll come back and see us again at 3.